Hare Krishna, Prabhus and Mataji's, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you all for joining with us for our Friday morning satsang. Today we are very fortunate to have with us His Grace, Swaroop Damodar Prabhu. So Prabhu is going to join by 9:45. Prabhu is going to lead the Kirtan as well as Srimad Bhagavatam Pravachan. And today's our main coordinator is MC will be Munaswami Prabhu. Over to you. We can start our Arati and all. Thank you. Over to you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dandavad Pranam to everyone. Thank you very much for giving this seva, Prabhu. And today we'll start with this program by Arti. Arti is going to perform by His Grace Bhagavan Govinda Prabhu. And Hare Krishna Mahamantra is going to sing by Bhakta Sudhakar Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu. Over to Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam. My voice is audible, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu, you are audible.
Can we start, Prabhu?
Yes, start, Prabhu.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Shanta Iti Nami Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Iti Nami Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prachari Nirviteta Punyavadi Rajata Deshatari Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prachari Nirviteta Punyavadi Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Bhakta Vrinda Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Ram Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram, Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama, Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Nitai Gaura Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Nitai Gaura Hari Bo, Nitai Gaura Hari Bo, Nitai Gaura Hari Bo, Nitai Gaura Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Nitai Gaura Hari Bo, Nitai Gaura Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Nitai Gaura. Jayo Prabhupada, 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 Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Bhagavan Prabhu and Jagar Prabhu for this wonderful arti and Hare Krishna Mahamantra.
Prabhu, just wait. Premadhani is there.
नामाचार्य हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोपिनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरी गोवर्धन की जय। गंगा माई की जय, यमुना माई की जय, मधुरा धाम की जय, वृंदावन धाम की जय, नवदीप धाम की जय, मायापुर धाम की जय, भक्ति देवी की जय, तुलसी देवी की जय, ग्रंथराज श्रीमद भागवतम की जय, सामवेद भक्त बंद की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। हरे कृष्ण महामंद्रा की जय, हरिनाम संगीतनम की जय। All glories to assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Guru and Gauranga. All glories to the Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Bhavan Prabhu and
Hare
Sudhakar
Krishna.
Prabhu for wonderful arti and Hare Krishna Mahamandra. Next, we have the program Narsimha by Bhakti Vishita. Over to you, Shida.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, can you hear?
Yes, you're audible. You can start.
Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Praladaladaine. Praladaladaine. Hiranyakashi Purvakshaha. Hiranyakashi Purvakshaha. Silatankalaye. Silatankalaye. Hito Narsimha Bharato Narsimha. Hito Narsimha Bharato Narsimha. Yato yato yami tado narsimho. Yato yato yami tado narsimho. Bahe narsimho hridaye narsimho. Bahe narsimho hridaye narsimho. Narsimha madhim sharanam prabhate. Narsimhamadem sharanam prabhadye. Tava kara kamalavare nakam adbhuta shringa dalita hiranyakashipu tanubringa Keshavadrita Narahari Rupam Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Tava Kara Kamalavale Naka Adbhuta Shringa Nalita Hiranyakashipu Tanubringa Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jaya Narsimha Dev 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 Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Prahlad Maharaj Jaya, Prahlad Maharaj Jaya, Prahlad Maharaj. Nittai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nittai Gaura Hari Bol, Nittai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nittai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. श्री श्री विघ्न विनाशक नरसिंह भगवान की जय, शीला प्रहलाद महाराज की जय, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। हरे कृष्ण।
Hare Krishna, Rishita, thank you very much for this wonderful singing. Next, we have Namamarta Seva.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Harinama is so powerful that one chanting immediately takes away the accumulated sinful reactions of millions of lives. Now, His Grace Prasanna Vasudeva Prabhu is going to have Namamarta Seva. Over to you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Danda Pranam to all the devotees. Thank you. I think I have to start with thanking Deepali Mataji, Gopi Ganagita Mataji, and of course Sri Ranga Prabhu for this opportunity. Hare Krishna. We are continuing with the Namamrita Seva. I seek all the devotees' blessings, and please guide me, correct me, and forgive me if I falter. Yeah, so we are essentially going from Namamrita number 23 onwards. Chapter 3 or part 3, 23, part 23 onwards. In this, we start with what Prahlad Maharaj states. Srimad Bhagavatam 7.5.23-24. That's what we start with. Prahlad Maharaj states, Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Padasevanam Archanam Vandanam Dasyam Sakyam Atmanivedanam Iti Pumsarpita Vishnu Bhaktischennavalakshana Kriyeta Bhagavati Yata Tanmanye Ditamuttamam. So we are all aware of this shloka. So what Prahlad Maharaj says here is that hearing and chanting about the transcendental holy name, form, qualities, paraphernalia, and pastimes of Lord Vishnu, okay, remembering them, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, offering the Lord respectful worship with 16 types of paraphernalia, offering prayers to the Lord, becoming His servant, considering the Lord as one's best friend, and surrendering everything unto Him. So these are the 9 processes that are accepted as pure devotional service. And a person who has, or a living being who has dedicated his life in the service of Krishna with these 9 methods, okay, ultimately is understood to be the most learned person, for he has acquired the complete knowledge. So that is the 9 process of bhakti. But the Lord has multitudes of energies, yet He has a particular name. Parasya Shaktir Vivideva Shruyate, which means the Lord has multiple energies, okay? Yet He has a particular name. And how do we know which is the actual name of the Lord? Or do we really need to waste our time in searching the name of the Lord? Okay? So where do we get this? We get this from the Shastras. The Shastras are the ones that recommend the names that we should chant on the Lord. It is not our duty to go search for, for some other name or manufacture one. Rather, we must just follow the saintly persons and the Shastras in chanting the holy name. That's a very clear instruction. Okay. But unfortunately, which yuga are we living in? We are living in the Kali Yuga. And we human beings, okay, are the best at trying to become God ourselves. Thinking that whatever we think is right, okay, is the ultimate truth, because it does not go beyond our ego. Okay, so we cannot be Krishna conscious this way. Only by chanting the holy name in its original and subscribed format, one can receive the mercy of the Lord. That's the only way that we can get out of this Kali Yuga. In Srimad Bhagavatam 12.3.51, okay, Kaler doshanide rajan asti hi eko mahan gunaha kirtana deva krishnasya mukta sanga param rije. This is what Srimad Bhagavatam 12.3.51 states. Okay, so what does it mean? Although Kali Yuga is an ocean of faults, there is still one good quality about this age. Okay, so although Kali Yuga is there, okay, there is still one good quality in this age. Krishna has given us that mercy even in Kali Yuga. So simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, one can become free from material bondage and be promoted to the transcendental kingdom. And by following the instructions of the bona fide acharyas. So basically this is purely about chanting. Okay, so here Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, okay, becomes the sole, solution for us to get out of the material bondage. And this can be done only by the mercy of the bona fide acharyas if we follow in their footsteps. Then the natural question comes, what are the dangers then of giving up chanting? What happens? Because we need to know both the sides. Okay, what is that we will end up in or with if we give up chanting? And the perfect example for that is Maharaja Bharata. What happened to him? Maharaja Bharata ultimately forgot the rules and regulations, okay, in his spiritual life because of one single mistake, that is the attachment to the deer. Okay, so Bhagavad Gita 18.5 states that Yajna dana tapah karma nyatyajyam karyam evatat Yajno danam tapaschaiva pavanani manishinam. Okay, what does it mean? Acts of sacrifice, charity and penance are not to be given up, but should be performed without giving up the regulative principles. Okay, so which means there are other activities, okay, that is still considered pure, okay, and will support one's progress to spiritual, or is conducive, okay, to developing that spiritual bhav. Okay, but that is not the ultimate the way that we can achieve the lotus feet of the Lord. Okay, these are only supportive. Okay, and those are what? Sacrifices, charity and penance. Okay, they should be there. Okay, but without giving up the regulative principles. Our job is to take austerity in chanting the holy name of the Lord and face any obstacle with utmost faith in the Lord, because ultimately Krishna is within us, and soon as he sees that we are very sincere, okay, and we are seeking the Lord in a very sincere way, in a humble way, he sends a bona fide spiritual master. Okay, it's not we who get a bona fide spiritual master. Okay, this even I personally realize that. Okay, sometimes we think that, okay, we have to go look out for a wonderful spiritual master. We have to, we are the ones to identify. We are the ones to select. Okay, sometimes I've overheard in our conversations. Okay, where they say, "Oh, who are you choosing as your spiritual master?" Okay, that's very nice to think that we are the ones who are choosing, but Krishna has his own ways. Yeah. So he basically gives us the opportunity to think that we are the ones who are choosing, but obviously it is he who sends the bona fide spiritual master. Okay, so this combination of Krishna and the spiritual master is the cause of one's receiving the seed of Krishna consciousness. Okay, so it's very, very important that way. There is no doubt that even at the time of death. Okay, there is no doubt that if one is able to remember the Lord, okay, it is going to be how beneficial it is going to be for for the soul. Okay, and that is what Bhagavad Gita 8.6 states. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam त्यजति अंतकलेवरम tam tam evaiti kaunteya sada tadbhava bhavitah. Okay, so whatever state of being one remembers when he quits this body, O son of Kunti, that state he will attain without fail. Okay, that is very encouraging, but is this something that we can do at the last minute is a question that we need to ask ourselves, because generally it is prescribed. I mean, it is written or given, described in Namamrita also, and Prabhupada has quoted this many other times, because at the time of death, okay, there's too many things happening, okay, bodily and around us. So it is very important that we practice. Everything comes with practice. Okay, because not everyone will be blessed as Ajamila was. Okay, who was calling the son's name. Okay, though not in the it was not that he was practicing or and he was actually calling the name of the Lord, because it was just a fluke. Okay, and he was able to attain the lotus feet of the Lord at his death. Okay, but if one practices chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, he is naturally expected to chant the mantra when he meets with some accident. Okay, that is what we see. If we are practicing, if we have that conducive environment at home where we are constantly chanting and remembering the name of the Lord, even at those small opportunities in our life where we hurt ourselves, we automatically call out for the name of call out for the Lord, and that is what happens. That practice is what is beneficial at the last moment of our life when we are leaving this body. Okay, so Ishwara Puri, and a good example of that is that Ishwara Puri, the spiritual master of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, okay, performed service to Madhavendra Puri. Okay, what did he do? He used to clean up his stool and urine with his own hand. Okay, and Ishwara Puri was always chanting the holy name and the pastimes of Lord Krishna for Madhavendra Puri to hear. So in this way, he helped Madhavendra Puri remember the holy name and pastimes of Lord Krishna at the time of death. So what a wonderful seva. Okay, so we should remember to chant the holy name of the Lord. Okay, and not only for our benefit, but also for the benefit of others. Okay, ultimately that's the the final message. Okay, ultimately we need to do everything that is conducive or supportive to the spiritual advancement of not only ourselves but also for our society. Okay, so things like following Ekadashi, following twice a month, following Vaishnava etiquettes. Okay, rising early. Okay, cleansing one's body and applying tilak. Okay, chanting the tilaka mantra or memorizing the tilaka mantra, and most importantly, following the 4 regulative principles and chanting completing at least those 16 rounds, if not more. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much, Prasanna Prabhu. It was wonderful. Thank you for glorifying Harinama. Next, we have a chanting session. Before that, in Kali Yuga, if this Vedic mantra, Maha mantra is chanted regularly and heard regularly by the devotional process of Sravanam Kirtanam, it will purify all societies and thus humanity will be happy both materially and spiritually. And we are going to have a chanting session by His Grace Srinivasan Prabhu is going to lead this chanting session. Over to you, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Mataji, Standard Pranam. The 10 offenses to the holy name. To blaspheme the devotees who have dedicated their lives for propagating the holy name of the Lord. To consider the names of demigods like Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma to be equal to or independent of the name of the Lord Vishnu. To disobey the orders of the spiritual master. To blaspheme the Vedic scriptures or scriptures in persons to the Vedic person. To consider the glories of chanting Hare Krishna to be on imagination. To give some interpretation to the holy name of the Lord. To commit sinful activities on the strength of the holy name. To consider the chanting of Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious ritualistic activities which are offered in the Vedas as fruitive activities Karma Ganda. To instruct a faithless person about the glories of the holy name. To not have complete faith in the chanting of the holy name and to maintain material attachments. Even after understanding so many instructions on this matter, it is also an offense to be inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be Vaishnava must guard against these offenses in order to quickly achieve the desired success, Prema. Let us offer our humble obeisances to all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, who are just like disciples, who can fulfill all desires and are full of compassion for all the fallen conditioned souls. Vancha kalpatarubhyacha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam bhavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimade Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Nidhinamine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschadya Desatarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Karanam Sangeetanam Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Hare Krishna. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Srinivasan Prabhu, for leading this chanting session. Now we are going to have Kirtan and Pravachan by His Grace Swaroop Damodar Prabhu. Over to you, Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you, Manusai Prabhu. Hare Krishna and Hare Krishna to all the devotees. Today we are very fortunate to have with us His Grace Swaroop Damodar Prabhu, who is the disciple of His Holiness Tatana Swami Maharaj, a great Kirtaniya and a preacher. Born in 1969 in a small town called Khopoli in Raigad district of Maharashtra. Prabhu started singing at the age of 7. His devotional service began in 1977 when he was 8 years old, when he and his entire family had the most blessed fortune of having the personal darshan of Srila Prabhupada in Sri Vrindavan Dham. He formally joined the Brahmachari ashram in the Kartik of 1992 and took initiation in 1995 with His Holiness Ratna Swami Maharaj. He is loved for his melodious kirtans and has been spreading the glories of the holy names through his devotional albums all over the world. He has also composed many heart-melting melodies for some famous bhajans in our movement like Yadi Gaurana Hoito, Kathachit Kalindi, Goro Kripa Koile Krishna, etc. Currently, since almost a decade, he has been an active full-time Grihastha preacher and music teacher. He has been training students from all over UAE and also from different parts of the globe. His classes have been proven to be very successful and have inspired many devotees and kids to take to the wonderful service of Sankirtan in Lord Chaitanya's mission. His Grace Swaroop Damodar Prabhu ki jai, His Holiness Radhana Swami Maharaj ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Tagore Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Over to you, Swaroop Damodar Prabhu, and thank you so much.
Prabhupada ki jai, Gauranga Desh Bhakta Sanga ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Thank you, Shri Ranga Krishna Prabhu, for your kind words. And thank you all, my wonderful devotees of Shri Gauranga Desh. I'm very happy and blessed to be with all of you this Friday morning. I would like to express my deepest condolences to our very dear Sudama Chitta Prabhu Vrindanandini Mataji. Just yesterday, lost their beloved mother, Srimati Bhanumati. I would like to dedicate this kirtan and this katha to the departed soul, the mother of our Sadama Chitta Prabhu. So we will first have a kirtan for about 5 minutes. 5 minutes kirtan.
No problem, bro. 5-10 minutes, no issues.
Then we will have the katha. Prabhu, am I audible right now properly? Clearly, everybody can hear me?
Yes, Prabhu.
After the kirtan, I will be connecting to my microphone also, so that it can become even more. During the kirtan, I can't connect it. So technically, so we'll start now. Hey, Radha. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, everybody chant. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Jai Prabhu. Shri Shri Harinam Jagat Guru Shri Prabhupada ki Gauranga Desh Bhakta Sangha ki Hai Gaur Anande Jai Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parivrajakacharya Ashtottara Shatashi Srimati Divine Grace Abhay Charnar Vind Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parivrajakacharya Ashtottara Shatashi Srimati Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada ki Jai. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार शिवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। ब्रजभूमि वृंदावन धाम की जय। मायापुर नवदीप धाम की जय। पुरुषोत्तम श्वेत जगन्नाथ पुरी धाम की जय। गंगा माई जमुना माई की जय। भक्ति देवी तुलसी महारानी। कलयुग पावन श्री हरि नाम संकीर्तन यज्ञ की जय। I go Premanandi. Glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories. Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
This way, Swaroop Prabhu ki jai. His Holiness Satna Sai Maharaj ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Go Premanandi.
I'll just take 1 second to connect my microphone. Just give me. Prabhu, you'll have to let me know if you can hear clearly.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay.
Yes, I'm going to connect the mic now. Then you tell me.
Actually, during the kirtan, in between it is breaking.
Yeah, because it was not through the mic.
Okay.
How is it now? Is it clear?
Yeah, now it's okay. Fine.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Okay, I'll just leave it like this. I don't want to touch it again. Hare Krishna. Just begin with the prayers. Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashta Prayeshu Bhadreshu नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति सप्रदायिकां वन्देऽहं श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणी निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशकारिणी हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् पावन संकीर्तन की जय। जगत गुरु श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। समवेत वृंद की। Once again, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to Shri Ramakrishna Prabhu for giving me this opportunity to render service this morning. I would like to offer my sincerest prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead to bestow good health and happiness all of you here in Gauranga Desh, and to also to your loved ones wherever they are. So today we are reading from the third canto. With the verse, are you going to be sharing the verse on the screen?
Yeah, I'll share, Prabhu. If you want, you can. No, I can share. I'll share.
All right. Can you expand it, Prabhu? Can you enlarge it?
Yes, Prabhu.
A little bit more so everybody can see. Shri Shukla Uvacha.
Vacha.
Are we going to respond, Prabhu?
No, Prabhu.
No. Shri Shukla Uvacha. Dwari Dunatya Rishabha Kuruna Maitreyamasina Magad Bodham Shatto Pratachyutta Bhava Siddha Shattopasrishtyachuta bhava siddha papracha saushilya gunabhitriptaha Varidunadya rishabhar guruna Maitreyamasinamakadabodham Shattopasrishtyachuta bhava siddha papracha saushilya gunabhitripta Dvari tunadya rishabhar guruna Maitreyamasinamakadabodham Shattopasrishtyachuta bhava siddha papracha saushilya gunabhitripta Scroll it down. Translation. Sri Sukadev Goswami said, Vidura, the best amongst the Kuru dynasty, who was perfect in devotional service to the Lord, thus reached the source of the celestial Ganges river, Haridwar, where Maitreya, the great fathomless learned sage of the world, was seated. Vidura, who was perfect in gentleness and satisfied in transcendence, inquired from him. Purport. Vidura was already perfect due to his unalloyed devotion to the infallible Lord. The Lord and the living entities are all qualitatively the same by nature, but the Lord is quantitatively much greater than any individual living entity. He is ever infallible, whereas the living entities are prone to fall under the illusory energy. Vidura had already surpassed the fallible nature of the living entity in conditional life due to his being Achyuta Bhav, or legitimately absorbed in devotional service of the Lord. This stage of life is called Achyuta Bhava Siddha, or perfection by dint of devotional service. Anyone, therefore, who is absorbed in devotional service of the Lord is a liberated soul and has all admirable qualities. The learned sage Maitreya was sitting in a solitary place on the bank of the Ganges at Haridwar, and Vidura, who was a perfect devotee of the Lord and possessed all good transcendental qualities, approached him for inquiry. So, for those of you who are joining new to these sessions here in Bangladesh, I'd just like to give a quick synopsis of what is going on. We are here on the third canto. And what is the storyline? Vidura, as you all know, one of the great ministers and the brothers of Dhritarashtra, had left home because whatever was happening in Hastinapur was so grossly against the principles that he followed in life. He decided to quit. He decided to leave. And then he was traveling. He went to many holy places in India. And a devotee's heart is always seeking for the nectar of Krishna Katha. Devotee is like the bumblebee, always looking for Krishna Katha nectar. So he was searching, he was looking for devotees everywhere. He wanted to associate with great saints, and many others. He also came and met Uddhav and heard in length about Lord Krishna. And then Uddhav advises him to go and hear from Maitreya Rishi, who is another unalloyed, exalted devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this particular chapter, fifth chapter, before that he has come and is met. And in this chapter, the actual dialogue between Maitreya and Vidura begins. So this is just a synopsis of what's going on. And as we can see here, In today's verse, we are reading some important points given by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada in his purport. Dwari dunadya rishabha puruna maitreya masina magad bodham. Who is Maitreya? Agad bodham. He's saying Maitreya has been addressed here as someone who has unfathomable knowledge, unfathomed knowledge. And kshato pasrishtatyut bhava siddha papracha saushila gunabhritta. And Prabhupada also points out this word achyuta bhava siddha, one who is fixed in devotional service, in his absorption on the Supreme Lord Achyuta. In the purport, there are some key points that we will be covering in our class today. Prabhupada mentions in the very beginning about the infallible nature of the Lord. And at the same time, he also talks about how we living entities here in the material world are prone to fall down in the illusory energy. The living entities are prone to fall under the illusory energy, Prabhupada clearly says here. So first of all, let us try to understand this term fallible. It comes many times in Prabhupada's books, and it is important that we try to carefully understand the meaning of this word. The word fallible or fallible, I mean, it's different ways of pronouncing it. Fallible is actually the nature that has been defined about the spirit soul as the marginal energy. The reason why the Jivatma has been defined as the Tatastha Shakti of the Lord is because of this. Because we have a tendency to go either towards the spiritual consciousness or remain in material consciousness. Tatastha, just like, on the seashore we see sometimes wet, sometimes dry, sometimes wet, sometimes dry. So this is why the living entity is also in a condition like that. Fallible. What is fallible? By nature, all of us are Krishna conscious. All of us have qualitatively, as Prabhupada says, we are all qualitatively same. We are all Sachidananda. As Krishna is Sachidananda Vigraha, so we jivas are also Sachidananda. But unfortunately, because of this enjoying mentality, because of this mentality of using our free will for our own self, Bhagavad Gita clearly explains, Purusha prakriti sthohi bhukte prakrite jaya gunaya. Karanam guna sangasya sadasad yonisu janmasu. That because of this and this mentality of considering oneself to be the Swami or the enjoyer, the master or the controller, what happens? Immediately, the living entity comes under the control of the illusory energy of the Lord. See, all of us have to be awakened to this much truth at least, that we are all governed by higher powers. Every fractional moment of our life. Okay? And with the free will that the Lord has bestowed us, I think somebody is waiting to admit the class, Prabhu, if you can take care of that. So, what we do with our free will at every moment is being governed, is being supervised, is being witnessed by higher powers. all of us are very aware of how valuable life is. Especially in these times of the pandemic, we can all very deeply relate with this truth, how valuable health is, how valuable life is when we have lost so many loved ones, when we have heard about so many people, devotees everywhere who have lost their lives. So something as valuable as life, which has been bestowed here to all of us in the human form, definitely comes with a great responsibility. And that is why the Lord has appointed authorities and energies and powers who supervise and witness what we do. So the moment the living entity gets this desire of lording it over, of enjoying, what happens is you drift into the territory of the illusory energy. And the illusory energy is primarily composed of the three gunas. Karanam guna sangasya. You come into the contact with the three gunas. And as soon as we come into contact with the three gunas, what happens? Then we get influenced. Just like Prabhupada explains in his lectures, the living entity is like a pure drop of rainwater. Until it touches the ground, it is spotlessly pure. But as soon as it touches the ground, it gets the qualities of the surface that it touches. Similarly, the jiva, the living entity, all of us, as soon as we come in contact with the material energy, we get influenced by it. We get influenced by the three qualities, the three main qualities, which is Sattvagun, Rajogun, and Tamogun. Nicely described by Krishna in the Gita. And as long as we are under the influence of these three qualities, what happens is this phenomenon that I am the doer, I am the controller, I am the enjoyer continues. And this is how we get entrapped in the cycle of birth and death. Because it goes on compounding. As we go on thinking, the more we get entangled in these three modes, the more we get entangled in the three modes, the more we try. The nature of the living entity is to go on trying. So this is called the fallen conditioned state, where each living entity in every species gets entangled in the three modes of material nature. And all of us, unless we try very hard, unless we use the same free will which got us here, to again dovetail our free will, again dovetail our soul, our hearts, our minds, our senses in Krishna's service, we remain in the fallen conditioned state. So this is what is explained here in this purport by Srila Prabhupada, that there are two types of personalities. One are those who are the fallen conditioned souls, especially like me. And then there are the Achyuta Bhava Siddha devotees. Those who are fixed in devotional service, who have perfected their lives in devotional service, like Vidura. So I would like to dedicate most amount of time to discussing this part, because this is what is actually the most hope-giving And this is what actually is the goal of our lives. This is the goal of our lives. That until we reach this Achyuta Bhava Siddha state, perfection in devotional service, there's no question we can actually be away from this fallible nature in this world. Only, Prabhupada points out, only those who have perfected their lives in Achyuta Siddha Bhav have transcended the fallible condition of material life. So it is extremely important to very deeply understand these subject matters. That is why Prabhupada, he started this whole program of the Srimad Bhagavatam class, where we can properly come and discuss the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada did not want only temples with sentimentalists coming to the temple, ringing the bell, praying and going away and back to their nonsense. Prabhupada wanted the temples to be like hospitals, where people could come and understand that they are in a diseased state. And it is only in Srila Prabhupada's temples, I'm sure everybody sitting here will admit this, that they were able to realize that yes, we are suffering. We are in this diseased state of existence. We are stuck in the fourfold miseries of life. Birth, old age, disease, and death has been going on. Don't know for how many millions and millions of births. We are in ignorance of Krishna. We are in ignorance of our own constitutional position. You see, what can be done of a patient who is completely ignorant of his own disease? See, unfortunately, we have seen in many times in this world, we see people suddenly get contracted with horrible diseases like cancer, 4th stage cancer. I mean, unfortunately, I had this experience in my own life that my father, he was hale and hearty his entire life. And suddenly one day, he had this terrible pain. And then 3 months later, we realized, 3 months, it was all over. He was diagnosed with 4th stage of colon cancer, and it was such a tragic death. But until the person realizes, he just goes on with our life. I mean, even now in this pandemic situation, everybody is trying, because it is all over the place. Everybody is so careful about the symptoms and the consequences and precautions and everything. But still, sometimes it happens and we don't realize, and it advances to a certain stage. So, the scriptures are pointing out about this Bhava Rog, that the Bhava Rog of forgetfulness of Krishna has symptoms. And what are the symptoms? Birth, old age, disease, and death. Even the dumbest person can see these symptoms. You don't want disease, you don't want death, you don't want old age, you don't want any problems, yet they are there. So if there is a problem, that if there are symptoms, that means there is a disease. What is the disease? The disease is forgetfulness of Krishna. And the disease is not going to ask or be merciful or compassionate or considerate to what pious activities you are doing, how nice, how honest, how truthful you are. The disease comes to anyone and everyone. It comes even to a child. It comes to a woman. It comes to an elderly man. It comes to anyone. Just like any other disease comes in this world. Similarly, this disease is also there until we do something about it. And the process of Krishna consciousness is the only remedy. Achyuta Bhava Siddha state is the only actual state of consciousness which can give us freedom from this disease. Achyuta Bhava state. Abs, ABS. In this world, everybody is after abs, right? 6-pack abs everyone wants, 4-pack abs. The Bhagavatam also is giving us the 6-pack ab formula. What is our 6-pack ab? The 6 do's and the 6 don'ts of devotional service. Now, please pay attention and take down notes if you want. You may have already heard it many times. This has been beautifully described by Srila Rupa Goswami. The 6 activities which we must favorably do to reach the ABS, Achyuta Bhava state or Siddha state. Utsahan, Nishchayan, Dhairyan, Tat Karma Pravartanat, Sanga Tyaga Sato Mritti, Sadbir Bhaktir Prasidhyati. One who wants to advance in Krishna consciousness, wants to perfect his devotional service, should be very enthusiastic. Utsahan should be very determined. Nishchayat, Dhairya should be patience. One should keep away from bad association. Sangatyaga Sato Vritte, and one should also associate with like-minded people. In this way, when one very carefully follows these 6 favorable activities of devotional service under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master, then the journey towards Achyuta Bhava Siddha begins. And just like the doctor, when he diagnoses us of the diseased condition, he will say, do this and don't do this. Correct? So the doctor will say, don't eat this, don't smoke, don't go to the bar, don't eat oily stuff, don't eat meat. Otherwise, you will die sooner. At the same time, the doctor will also advise, take this medicine, follow this routine, go for a walk. So there are do's and don'ts. Similarly, for those who want to be completely free from this disease of Maya, of the illusory energy, must follow the principles. So we discussed the do's, and what are the don'ts? Atyahara prayashascha prajalpo niyamagraha. Rupa Goswami says there are other 6 activities which one must avoid. What are these? Atyahara prayashascha prajalpo niyamagraha. Janasangasya laulyam cha shadbir bhaktir vinashyati. That one should avoid eating too much and collecting too much. Atyahara means too much eating, eating more than necessary. You see, in this Kali Yuga, so much importance is given to all this. Unless we go to a different restaurant every Friday, we are not really showing our love to our family. Unless there are a million different types of things we eat, and unless there are a trillion different types of things we do and collect, we cannot be happy. But this is actually considered to be a great fallacy. It's considered to be a malice. A person who is too much interested in eating and collecting things cannot really make any progress in devotional service. Over-endeavoring, atyahar prayasascha. Over-endeavoring for fruitive things. I have to have this, I have to have that. What happens when you over endeavor? You're wasting the most valuable human life in that time. Prajalpo, another great block, stumbling block. And in this age, I'm sure if anybody from 100 years ago would come here and understand how many avenues we have for doing Prajalpa, he would faint. How many platforms and how quickly we can indulge into a Prajalpa, participate in a Prajalpa, and how quickly it spreads. Thanks to the technological advancement, WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram. 99% of the people in this world use the social media for Prajalpa. It's a great demon. And I'm sure all of us are also to a great extent affected by it. That's why I often suggest that when we do our sadhana, we should have a sadhana room if we can afford it. If we can have it, there should be a sadhana room and we should put a signboard. No phones, no laptop allowed inside of this room during the sadhana, during reading, during japa. Banned, phone banned, laptop banned. Then there is a possibility that we may think about Krishna. So that's another thing. Prajalpa, niyamagraha. To follow instructions without understanding the essence behind it. Without really realizing anything. Unnecessarily following too many ritualistic things. And then, again here, see both Rupa Goswami mentions in both the do's and don'ts about the bad effects of bad association. Here also is a Jana Sangasya Lauli. Keep away from materialistic people. Don't mingle too much with them. As Grihasthas, we all know that we do have to work and we have to, but don't allow your consciousness to mingle. Here, it is not spoken about physical association. It is spoken about the consciousness. Don't allow your consciousness to dwell with them. And laulyam, to be greedy for money, to be greedy for gadgets, to be greedy for name, fame, all these things, unless checked, there is absolutely no question of getting any freedom from this disease called Havaro, forgetfulness. So, the Bhagavatam gives us the easiest way of progressing and advancing in devotional service is by reading about great Achyuta Bhav Siddha devotees. That is the main purpose of Bhagavatam. That the Bhagavatam is filled with such examples of Achyuta Bhav devotees like Vidura, Shukdev Goswami, Kunti Maharani, Dhruv Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Ambarish Maharaj, King Ranti Dev, Hanuman. So many examples are there. What happens when we read about them? The heart gets purified and we get an inspiration and we get this and we are able to receive the mercy of the Lord in that purified state. Or in other words, you can say you start waking up. We start waking up. See, the main problem in this world is that people are completely asleep. They're asleep. They're sleeping. That is why Jiva Jago, Bhakti Vinod Thakur is shouting. Until you wake up, there is no question of any activity or any productive activity. So by hearing Srinvatam, Swakatha, Krishna, Punya Shravana Kirta Hridayantasto Yabhadrani. Every day we chant. By hearing about great personalities, what happens? The heart becomes cleansed. And in a clean heart, there is a possibility that devotional service will start sprouting. So there are many, many examples as I just listed. You can all read about these great personalities given in the Srimad Bhagavatam. We are running out of time, so I will conclude the last part of my session by discussing about one of the greatest Achyuta Bhav Siddha Mahabhagavat who came in the history of humanity. Any guesses? None other than our beloved spiritual, our beloved Acharya of the mission, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada. And my dear devotees, it is definitely not possible for us to fathom or understand the contribution, the personality, the compassion, the love, the state, the level of his consciousness, the quality of his devotional service in one lifetime. I would like to share some things which will bring out this whole principle of what actually is a Achyut Bhav Siddha devotee. One of the main symptoms of such a devotee is that he is equally or even more compassionate than the Supreme Lord himself. And this is why Krishna says, Sadhunam Hridayam Mahyam Sadhunam Hridayam. I live in the devotees of my pure devotees, in the heart of my pure devotees, and the pure devotees live in my heart. Madanyattena jananti naham tekipnagti. That apart from my pure devotees, I actually don't know anybody. He reveals his heart in the pastime of Ambarish Maharaj. Just to Durvasa Rishi, that don't ever, think of offending my devotees because they are my heart. They live in my heart and I live in their heart. Why? Why does Krishna love his devotees so much? Because in loving service to him, devotees like his Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada can endure such difficulties that we cannot even think of. And this is what defines Achyut Bhav. Achyut Bhav. This is actually the Achyut Bhav. Only a person in this kind of Achyut Bhav can actually do what Srila Prabhupada has done. All of you, I'm sure, have this Bhagavad Gita as it is. Next time when you hold the Bhagavad Gita in your hand, please remember this episode that I am going to share with you. This is in the year 1936, between 36 and 40. After Srila Prabhupada had received the direct instruction from his spiritual master Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati to preach in the English language the message of Lord Chaitanya. The seed was sown. That's all he said ever. He didn't tell him how to do it, what to do it, do it like this, do it like that. But he did implant the mercy along with the order. And Srila Prabhupada, although he was a young man at that time, when he first heard it, he was, a very young man who had his life ahead of it, and he got married after that, right? And then there were so many responsibilities. But this instruction that Bhakti Siddhanta had sown in his heart was always there. And he was thinking, how can I do it? How should I do it? And as things started moving more and more. He was into his business. He was into the pharmaceutical business. He had to manage his business. But at the same time, his love and attraction towards his spiritual master was helping him nurture this seed that Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati had sown in his heart. And he started thinking that if I really have to serve the order of my spiritual master, then I should start writing. And he started writing. And first of his few writings were so much appreciated by Sri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. He said, whatever Abhay Charan will write, publish it. And then Srila Prabhupada took up the task of writing the commentary in English on Gita-Upanishad, Bhagavad Gita. Prabhupada wanted a commentary on Bhagavad Gita as it is in 1940s. And my dear devotees, with hand, Prabhupada wrote 1200 pages of the commentaries of the Bhagavad Gita as it is. There was no typewriter or anything at that time. With hand, he wrote 1200 pages of this book. For what? To serve humanity, to serve us, to give us the message of Krishna. But that was not enough. Only manuscript. It requires publication, right? It requires money. And Prabhupada, in those days, this was the time when the Second World War was going on. And he was still a pharmaceutical salesman. And he was doing his business at the same time, writing the commentary on Gita and also managing his business. But he had no money to publish it. It was a huge task. So there was one friend of Prabhupada. He was also a medical salesman. His name was Muthuswami Chetty. And one day he heard, because Prabhupada, whenever he found an opportunity, he would speak about Gita, he would speak about spirituality. So this Chetty was very attracted. So Prabhupada told his plan that, see, I have written the Bhagavad Gita, I am finishing it. I would like to find a sponsor for it. So Mr. Chetty knew someone, Mr. Alagappa. Now, many of you from South India must be knowing who this Alagappa is. He is considered to be the Birla of the South. Mr. Alagappa was a very, very wealthy industrialist. And he said, I have some contacts, I will approach him and I'll show your work to him. And after some time, he gave the good news to Srila Prabhupada that Mr. Alagappa has seen your manuscripts and he liked it and consider your work done. He will publish your book. Prabhupada was so happy. He was so grateful to Krishna that somebody has understood the value of it. And he was so happy. And he went home. And you know what happened? Someone had stolen the 1200 pages of manuscript of Prabhupada. Just imagine. 1200 pages, months and months of hard work of writing. And it is not just copying. It is writing. He was writing the commentary. He was writing the purpose. And he asked his family members, he asked his wife, he said, we don't know. It remained a mystery, but Prabhupada writes in the Lilamrit that someone in his relatives, one of his servants, or someone in one of his sons sold it for money. Now, my dear devotees, how many of us would be very positive and think of redoing the whole thing for somebody else, for the sake of helping others, helping the human race? How many of us will do that? But Srila Prabhupada, we were talking about determination, right? One of the qualities, Utsahan, Nishchayat, Dharya. determination that he had. He did not give up. Although he was heartbroken that here there was somebody Krishna had sent who was ready to publish his Gita Upanishad. Before he could even give the man, it was lost. He had to rewrite. And then Prabhupada worked so hard on his 4-page newspaper called Back to Godhead. Tears will come to your eyes, my dear devotees, when you read about the struggles Prabhupada had to go through to give us his writings. In those days, just like today, even in those days, although it wasn't that bad, but still, how many were interested in reading about Back to Godhead? Prabhupada wanted BTG, Back to Godhead, to be equivalent to the quality of Illustrated Weekly, which was a very popular magazine of those days. Color pictures, nicely bound. But Prabhupada had no money, no support from anybody. Not even his own God brothers were interested in helping. He would write on his own. He would go and buy paper. He would go to a printer on his own. He would sit and do all the proofreading on his own. Then he would collect the back to BTGs and go door to door in streets. He would walk because he didn't have any money to buy, any tickets for rickshaws or anything. He would walk, and he would go and give out these BTG newspapers, and and how much would it cost? 6 paisa. Only 6 paisa for all this effort that Prabhupada was doing alone, single-handedly, writing himself, then going to the printers, getting it printing, buying paper, getting it printed, collecting it, and then going one by one. There would be sometimes people shouting from the second floor veranda, "Go away, we don't want you." Prabhupada would leave. This is how our divine grace, Srila Prabhupada, began. With so much difficulty, he started writing the Srimad Bhagavatam. So, my dear devotees, I would conclude today's session by making an appeal to all of you. 125th birth celebration of Srila Prabhupada is coming up. I am 100% sure that your Gauranga Desh congregation is also planning some nice festivals and celebrations. But I want to request each and every one of you, children, mothers, Prabhus, everybody, to do something special for Prabhupada. We all have been so much blessed. There's not a single person in this movement who can say that has not been blessed by Prabhupada. So much we have received individually and collectively that it is definitely our loving, soulful responsibility to reciprocate by doing something special for His divine grace. So please plan something, some nice offering, anything that you can think of. I seek the blessings of all of you for some offerings that I have begun. I am trying, and by the grace of His divine grace, I should be able to finish it. I am working on an audio book of the Prabhupada Lilamrit. So the Prabhupada Lilamrit, I'm hoping I finished 11 chapters now, and I'm hoping that at least the first volume, which has 36 chapters, should be out by Prabhupada's 125th anniversary celebration. So in this way, of course, when I'm reading Prabhupada Lilamrit, I'm actually relishing every drop that Swaroop Maharaj has given us. And it is incomparable what Prabhupada has given us, what Prabhupada has done for us. simply by reading and hearing about Prabhupada, our hearts will become so dear to Krishna. There is one more category which is called Kripa Siddha. One is Achyuta Bhava Siddha, which is by the dint of Sadhana Siddha, which is by the dint of sadhana. But Kripa Siddha, personalities like Srila Prabhupada, they give Kripa Siddha, they give Kripa. So let us all try to very sincerely practice this process of devotional service in our lives. Chant the holy names, follow the 4 regulatory principles, read Srimad Bhagavatam, read Bhagavad Gita, and then give it to others, spread it, encourage more and more brothers and sisters. Don't look at them as conditioned souls. They are all our family members, brothers and sisters, who have lived with us, who have been with us in the spiritual world. This was the mood of Srila Prabhupada. This is how he preached, with so much love for everyone. So with these words, I'll conclude. Thank you very much, everybody, for your kind attention. And my best wishes to all of you for the upcoming Janmashtami festival celebrations and Prabhupada's 125th anniversary. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for your wonderful and nectarian class today. And especially you have discussed about Srila Prabhupada.
Yes, Prabhu, any questions anybody has? We can take some questions.
If you have any questions, you can unmute yourself and you can ask the questions.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
I'm from Bangalore, Premlata.
Oh, Hare Krishna.
Okay, you said for the offering of the birthday, we have to give something good. So I'm asking, what is the Prabhu's favorite food which we have to offer?
Prabhupada's favorite is kachori.
Kachori, okay.
Sorry. He was called Kachori Mukhi because he was very fond of kachoris.
Okay, Prabhu.
So please prepare lots of kachoris, at least 125 kachoris for Prabhupada.
That is one of my daughter's favorite food.
Oh, very good. Very nice.
Whenever she goes for a chat, she will order for kachori only.
We make nice kachoris and also plan other gifts for Prabhupada.
Okay. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you.
Anybody else has any comments or any questions? Okay, so I think then in that case, we should conclude the session. Shri Krishna Prabhu, over to you.
Yes, thank you once again. Thank you so much for joining. And please join us very often, and we can please guide us and tell us how we can serve Srila Prabhu. And all your blessings are very much required. And you got a very good opportunity to meet Srila Prabhupada in your early age.
Yes, it was one of the most special days of my life.
So, most blessed devotee in our association, actually.
I hope I can remember that and realize the importance of this blessing.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Thank you.
So, then can I leave now, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu. Is Jai Swaroop Damodar Prabhu ki jai. Is Holiness Sadhana ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaur Hari Hari Bo. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Krishna. On behalf of Gauranga Yatra, I thank everyone for joining this program today, and also I request everyone to join every Friday. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Over to you, Sanga Prabhu.
Thank you, Munusami Prabhu, for taking up the service. I request all other devotees also, please come forward and take up the services and do your wonderful presentation week after week. So, before we move to the our program details, we can first chant for. Yes, we have few devotees actually. We are chanting for His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj, and also need prayers from all the devotees for His Grace Bhadrachar Prabhu. Prabhu is also affected, very badly affected his health actually. Currently, Prabhu is in Bangalore, so Prabhu is going for a surgery today. Today, I think. Yesterday, and also going for another surgery on 7th. So we need a prayers for a wonderful devotee, His Grace Bhadrachar Prabhu from Srila Mayapur.
Second surgery is on 7th.
Second surgery is on 7th. So we need a prayers from all the devotees so that Prabhu's successful surgery as well as he can recover very soon. So let us chant, and also we need prayers for all the wonderful disciples of Srila Prabhupada and other devotees all over the world. Let us chant for their good health so that they can all, that is, please their Srila Prabhupada by their wonderful services to Guru and Krishna. Let us chant 3 times for all the devotees. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. We have few more announcements.
Okay. We need prayers for the soul of Sudama Prabhu's mother. Cremation is going on now. They just finished the rites, the final. Now they are proceeding with the cremation now. And we also need. Okay. We also need prayers for Vishnu Prabhu, Jyoti Rupa Mataji's husband. He is getting better. There is some improvement. Left side is a little bit improved, but right side there is no improvement at all. Slowly he's, but we need all your strong prayers so that he gets out of this difficult situation. We also need prayers for Prabha Mataji and her father. Father has to recover completely. He's some days okay, some days not okay, and now he's not able to. Prabha Mataji, can you update about your father? Hare Krishna, Prabha Mataji. So some days he's okay, but still, sometimes he doesn't know what he is doing. They are keeping a caretaker now for 2 hours, so that he's been washed completely, and then he's still on Pampers now. So let us all pray for him so that he recovers and gets back to normal. We need prayers for Bhagwan Balaji Prabhu and his family. They are traveling today.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow early morning. That is today night, early morning. Flight to Chennai.
So we need the prayers for their safe trip and back to GDY.
They're traveling for 2 weeks, so they want to be back within 2 weeks. So we need
And moreover, few more other devotees are planning to go to India. One humble request to all the devotees, those who are planning to visit, please take care of yourself, your family, and other family members. So you have to be very, very extreme care while you are moving out. So please take care.
Because now the Delta, this virus is out in India, and they say there is no symptom. It directly affects the lungs. Be very careful when you travel to India.
Wherever you are traveling, whichever place, you have to be very careful.
We also need prayers for Sashimukhi Mataji's BV member Vidya Mataji's son Hardik, who has had fractured his hand. We need prayers for Kuldipika Mataji's sister to recover soon. We also need prayers for Venkat, who has been initiated now, and his name is Vimala Prema Nityananda Das.
He is initiated last Saturday by His Holiness Jayapatak Sangha Maharaj.
Yes.
So we need prayers from all of you for his spiritual advancement.
We also need prayers for Madarasa Mataji's sister-in-law Lakshmi, who is suffering from cancer. We need prayers for Mandakini Mataji's mother also, who is in coma the last 1 year. Any more prayer requests?
Mataji, we are traveling to Chennai on the 2nd. Some 5 of us, my son's family and myself. Please pray for us. Yes. And we are back on 12th October.
Okay. Let us all pray for Madalasa Mataji's family members. They are all traveling to India.
Thank you.
And let them have a safe journey and return back soon. Any more prayers?
Santa Perumal Prabhu's birthday is today. We need prayers from all the devotees for his spiritual advancement as well as good health and long life. Any other prayers? Okay, let us chant the 3 times for the benefit of all the devotees. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare.
On 12th of this month, we have Sri Raghunath Nandana Thakur and Sri Vamsi Dhara Babaji's disappearance day.
Thank you so much. Okay, so after this, we will have a small discussion with all the devotees. That is for the upcoming festivals are coming. Balram Purnima, followed by Janmashtami and Nandotsava, and also the Srila Prabhupada, the 125th birth anniversary on 31st. That is